Greetings. Peace be with you. So, in today's transmission, I'm going to share with you why you need to stop caring so much. Okay. Now, this is something that if someone told me at a previous point in my journey, I would have been like, yo, if I stop caring about my health, then I'm not going to be healthy. If I stop caring about my finances and my business, I'm not going to be wealthy. If I stop caring about my relationships, then I will have no relationships in my life. So, what do you mean to stop caring so much? So, the way I look at it at this point is that the more that we attach ourselves to things, right, the more that we get attached, which the Buddha, by the way, said is the root of all suffering, the more we identify with things outside of us. The more that we get attached to our car, the more that we think our car elevates our status or elevates our identity or elevates our place in the world. The more that we identify with our house, with our job title, with our label, with anything outside of us, the more that we are letting that thing define who we are. And as the Buddha said, the first noble truth of Buddhism is that life is suffering, right? We all want pleasure, we all want happiness, we all want fulfillment. But why is it that so many of us experience suffering and those lower emotions? Well, it really comes down to the nature of physical reality, which is transient, which is always changing. And the more that we get attached to external things, well, the reality is that they will always be changing, and therefore we end up experiencing suffering because we are attached to things being a certain way. Now, looking back at my own example, I remember when I was I cared so much about my physical health, right? I was like, I need to eat healthy all the time. I can't ever skip a workout. And I cared a lot about it, right? Now it got to the point where I started getting anxiety, whereby I was anxious about going out and getting a meal with my friends. I was anxious about what food I was putting inside my body, like down to the very minute details and all the ingredients. I was very anxious about missing a workout. And the reality is, that anytime I would end up skipping a workout or anytime I would get off track, like let's say I'm like 12 weeks on track, I'm on point with my diet, I'm with my nutrition, with my training, everything's on point, I would fall off once and that would just cause me to fall off all the way and I would relapse and I would just stop for a long time and I would fall off the track over the long term, right? Because I just cared about it so much. Now understand that the extent to which you desire something, the extent to which you care about something, the extent to which you think you need something, is the extent to which you believe you are not worthy of it. Okay? Now, it's the same thing with a relationship. Like, let's say you are very, very attached to a relationship. You're like, I find myself, my sense of identity from being in this relationship right now. Eventually, that person will get repulsed because you are too attached to them, right? So this applies to the things in our life right here, right now, when we're attached to the things that we have. Okay, the more we get attached to the things that we have, the less space there is for new things to come in. And also, we have this anxiety of actually losing that thing, right? So let's say that for the first time you generated income, you're like, yo, finally got this income, I got this money in my bank account. And you get attached to it, and you don't let that money flow. It's currency, right? The current is supposed to flow. It doesn't flow. It's a blood clot, and eventually you will end up losing it anyway, right? So this applies to, of course, the things that we have right now, the relationships, the health, the everything, right? Anything that we attach to externally, we end up re-emphasizing that internally we need something external to fill that void. But that never ends, okay? Because that is a hedonic treadmill. The more that we chase things outside of us, the bigger the void gets inside of us. The more that we think that the outside can help fill that void, the deeper it gets. And we just keep on going for more and more and more and more. And that is a never ending battle to the point where we look back, we're like, I just spent all of this time chasing stuff that I thought was going to make me feel better. But now I feel the same. And actually, it's going to be worse because at least at that point, when you didn't have all these things, you're like, at least I have hope right now. When I get these things, I'm going to feel complete. And when you get those things and you still don't feel complete, that's the point where we have so many examples in society where the people who reach the heights of quote unquote success, we're talking about financially, we're talking about fame, we're talking about recognition, right? So many people are an example that they reach the pinnacle of quote unquote success, but then they end up taking their own lives because they realize that it was not enough to fill that internal void, right? Robin Williams comes to mind, Avicii comes to mind, right? Mac Miller comes to mind, okay? So something that I've been thinking about and continue to wrestle with, right? Like, what is the shift over here that we can make so that it actually ends up serving us rather than hindering us, right? Now, like I said, this applies to the things that we have right now. This also applies to our future vision, okay? Let's say you are caring so much about a particular person, you really want to be in a relationship with them, okay? As I've spoken about in a previous video, the more that we want something, the more that we chase something, the more we vibrate at the frequency of not having it. And that just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy whereby we just continue to chase it, right? The more that we want to be in a relationship with someone, the more we place them on a pedestal, the more we increase the distance between us and that person. The more that we care about generating income, the more we care about our finances, the more we believe internally, subconsciously, that we are not worthy of having that in our life. Okay, so the solution over here is not aversion, right? Because we think that's attachment and then aversion, right? It's like pleasure and pain. But in the Eastern spiritual traditions, they would say that they are two sides of the same coin, right? Pleasure and pain are two sides of the same coin. And in my understanding of these ancient texts, the ideal sage is the one who is the same in pain and pleasure. He does not let compliments, he does not let fame, he does not let success get to him. And then as a result of that, he does not let that bottom quote unquote failure or rejection or criticism get to him either. He has his center in himself. He's grounded in himself, right? Real confidence is not about, oh, everything's going to be okay. I'm going to make it happen. Everything's all good. Real confidence is knowing that even if something does not happen, I'm still going to be good, right? And this gets back to the Eastern concept of detachment. Okay, detachment is not when you own nothing. Detachment is when nothing owns you. So you can still enjoy the house, you can still enjoy the food, you can still enjoy the relationships, you can still enjoy the money, right? But you're not attached to them. You're not identified with them. They don't define you. You are defined by your own center, by your own awareness, by your reputation that you have with yourself, by keeping commitments to yourself, right? And again, like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that the wise take action without an attachment to the outcome. Because when we're attached to the outcome, then again, we have anxiety. And when we have anxiety, we have fear that it's not going to happen. When we have fear, we release stress hormones. When we release stress hormones, that just messes up our physiology, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy whereby we are less likely to get that anyway. Okay? So making the shift from attachment, from defining ourselves with external things, from getting attached to a certain outcome, from getting attached to a certain goal that we have, right? This is not about just not having any goals and just sitting. This is about detaching from the outcome. This is about taking the action because you know that it is your obligation. You know that it is your duty. You know that it is your purpose to go and take this particular action. But what comes out of that action is outside of your control, and therefore you do not give it much mind. Okay, whatever happens is an effect of the cause, which is your action. And then if it's not according to what you intended, that is the point where we take that data as objective feedback. We reflect on how we can adjust our actions moving forward, and then we move forward over there, right? It's not about getting attached to any certain outcome. It's not getting attached to anything outside of us, right? There's a relationship. You can really relish in that. You can really enjoy that relationship, but it's for a higher purpose because it allows you to function at your peak capacity, and that interaction allows them to serve at their peak capacity. So it's like all of these things, right? Money, not getting attached to it, but directing it towards a higher purpose, towards how you can serve with it, towards how you can increase your impact with it, towards how you can feed people with it, towards how you can dedicate it to a higher purpose. Same thing with the health, right? Oh, I'm not identified with the state of my body. I actually take care of my body temple so that I can serve at a higher level, right? I made that video yesterday as well. So it's all about the shift, right? Like getting into the nuances. It's not about what you do, it's about why you do it. It's about the energy that you are generating mentally that are associated with your behaviors, that are associated with your surroundings, that are associated with your life. Energy is everything, everything is energy. And really, it comes down to having the energy of detachment, meaning that you are functioning through your lens of duty, of obligation, of purpose, of your dharma, of your reason for being, and that is what defines you, not what you get as a result of it, right? The material possessions that you have, right? You enjoy them, you love them, you have a good time with them, but they do not define who you are as pure consciousness, right? So just a quick message for you over here. I hope that it was able to clarify some things, because it's really like, we all have goals, we all have ambitions, we all have dreams, we all, especially if you're watching this video, you have a vision of what you are capable of being. But when you get attached to that vision, when you really, really want it to come true, then you just vibrate at the frequency of really, really not being worthy of it, right? If something happens, it happens. If it doesn't, that's also amazing, because the universe has something bigger in store for you, right? Trust the universe. Take the action that is in alignment with your highest self, okay? So with that, I will conclude this video. Much love to you, and I will leave you in the peace and power of the one infinite creator. And leave a comment below letting me know the one thing that you find yourself getting attached to, whether it's a future goal, whether it's a present possession, whether it's a relationship. Let me know in the comments below. I love hearing from you, and I'll do my best to help you out in that regard, okay? So much love to you. Take care, and I will catch you in the next one.